Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. And man, I have a phenomenal episode planned for you guys today. If you've seen the thumbnail, then you know exactly what direction I'm headed into. We're going to talk about these NBA ratings and their decline and Adam Silver's part as a business person and the role that he's playing in that. But before we dive into the content, do me a huge favor. Like the video. If you haven't done so already, liking the video obviously helps us to cruise along Algorithm Avenue, and it helps this content get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who are looking for this kind of content, looking to be entertained by it. Also, subscribe to the channel. We most recently passed our 300, subscriber threshold, or the 300 subscriber threshold. So on the way to 400 and beyond. So thank you to everybody who subscribed to the channel, who's been supporting, liking, viewing, sharing, you know what I mean, comments, and etc. Definitely leave a comment. Also, I'd love to hear your opinions and to discuss them. If you are new to the channel, then I can tell you this is not about being right or wrong. I'm merely, sharing unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. I try to base them in facts as much as I can to, assure that they have some substance, and we go from there. So I'm going to dive directly into this content just as a kind of a heads up. Two things that I'm going to do in this episode is I'm going to share with you guys a video clip so that you can hear the audio from the Format Podcast. Shout out to Bruce in the Format Podcast. I called in yesterday to, while listening to his live show, as he talked about the very same topic, and I just shared opinions and perspective that may be different from, some of the things that he was sharing and some of the things that were being shared in the chat. Not necessarily different, meaning I was right and they were wrong, but just kind of different, a different bit of a different take and from a different vantage point. And so I want to replay that for you here so that you can hear some of the things that I said. Some of those things I feel like I spoke out of turn, you know what I mean? Like suggesting what Adam Silver and those who are making decisions for the NBA are thinking. I did not have a conversation with Adam Silver myself personally, so I cannot speak for Adam Silver. I did not quote him as I was saying it. And I was just kind of sharing some outside perspective, outside looking in. This is what it looks like to me as a business person myself personally. I run several businesses. I've built several brands over the years. So I understand, things conceptually as it pertains to business that, most don't. Most of you do. No disrespect to you. I have no idea what you perceive or what you understand. But I kind of approach my commentary that way. And so what happened this morning, this Format Podcast episode, if you haven't followed and checked out Bruce's content, definitely do so. I'll link in the description the exact video or his page, so you can do so. But that was on yesterday, the Format Podcast, where I called in. And then today, just 3 hours prior to producing this episode, I read an article from fadeawayworld.net that validated the statements that I made about Adam Silver. So it's like, okay, cool. I didn't speak out of turn at all then, because Adam is going to voice for you guys the exact same thing that I say in this video clip. But without further ado, I want to dive into today's episode, which will be entitled Adam Silver is Killing the NBA. Man. So let's take a listen to and a look at the Format Podcast episode that I spoke of, and then we'll go from there. Let's take a listen.
This call from Opinion Stated, then we're going to go. Opinion Stated, what's good, brother? What's good?
Bruce, what's good, brother? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, brother. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, not a whole lot. I want to, first of all, man, before I do anything, man, say, you know what I mean? You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, I want to shout out Black Dynamite. Young Disciple, what's good, bro? I appreciate your, you know what I mean, your open discourse everywhere we can find you.
Fact.
Where you come over and be a thorn in my side to a degree. MB was good. Steve Bubba, Wood, everybody who's in the chat, engaging this morning for me, afternoon maybe where you guys are. But I want to address really quick, bro, what the topic that you're talking about with the ratings and some of the things that are being stated, because I feel like everybody's making valid points. You know what I mean? You and everybody else in the chat, you know what I mean? We're cohesively speaking about what the issue is, the prevailing issue. and the issues, you know what I mean, around them. So it starts to get fragmented after a while. And the fragments, you know, none of them are off point. You know, all of them are on point. But when you snowball them all together, you know, we get a bigger picture of kind of like what's happening and then what happens as a result. So first I want to talk about I want to bring up the ratings and how Adam Silver and the league, you know, knows what the issue is and they don't care to fix it. To Rick Bucher's point, you know what I mean? Like ratings aren't really that big of a deal. And, you know, that's a business thing. You know what I mean? So for instance, you know, in my business, I run a weekly, you know, show that I've been doing out here in Phoenix for nearly 10 years. I have a threshold. You know what I mean? There's a certain threshold that I know we have to meet in order for it to make financial sense, right? So whether I have 500 people show up, 500 people is a great night, 400 is a great night, 300 is a great night. But if I can just hit a mark of about 150 to 200, then we're doing good. I can pay expenses and still walk away with a profit. And that's the way that the NBA has always looked at viewership. You know, before, back in the 90s era, so this is kind of bleeding into the purist point that was made, you know, where Silver wants to get rid of the purists. They don't want to get rid of the purists. The purists are never going to go anywhere. The casual fan has always existed in the NBA landscape. You know what I mean? And the casual fan, for it to make sense for, you know, those who maybe, you know, have a little age and wisdom on them, like, you know, the two of us in terms of, you know, our age. That's not to age us out or to point at anybody else being young. So I don't want people to be like, oh, we're young. But I'm saying, you know, our generation we were basketball card collectors. This is prior to social media. This is prior to, you know what I mean, like any place where you could get a centralized focus being on stats and statistics. You know what I mean? So we had inside stuff and all those places.
That's right.
SportsCenter was literally just a highlight reel. It was just about tuning in for the top 10. I mean, the way that they gave recaps on the game even wasn't in depth. They gave us 20 seconds of highlights and just tell us who won at the end and show us a bleep of the box score. So the casual fan has always been the driving force for the league. The purists are the purists. We're just going to argue with the casual fan to kind of put them in their place or to add some perspective, so to speak, right? So they understand that the ratings are not really that big of a deal. They just have to meet a certain threshold. The thing that truly drives and has driven revenue has been ticket sales from the outset, right? So once they were able to, if the style of play begins to affect how many people show up in the league, show up to the games, et cetera, then it will become more of a centralized focus to say, whoa. You know what I mean? Our bottom line is being affected, right? From that standpoint. But viewers are always going to view. So as long as people view, you know, even, and they can meet that threshold, that's how they I imagine, because I wasn't in any of these meetings, but that's how they were able to generate the $76 billion in TV deals this past summer. It's a projection of saying, hey, you guys don't worry about having 100% of viewership. Like, people just don't view, their attention is fragmented and all over the place.
That's true.
So as long as you can pull in this amount of viewers, it's not going to look like last year or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, because people's, you know, they had a more centralized focus because they didn't have many options in terms of the things that were pulling, you know, attention. So this is why Adam Silver can make it a point to say, oh, well, we're up against the election and we're up against this and we're up against that, because he understands that those little events, right, little massive on their own scales respectively, but those little events in the purview of people are enough to shake up and to detract from the actual little minimal bottom line for viewership for them. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, once that goes away, then we'll get back to the threshold. Not that we'll get back to, you know, 5 million viewing a game tonight or 7 million viewing a game or these numbers that clips in college sports. They understand they're functioning from a baseline. So when I hear them speak, I'm hearing them speak minimal baseline as a business person. I'm like, okay, I understand what they mean. So that's how they're able to generate that kind of revenue. And now, as somebody else in the chat mentioned, the game is globalized now. So with U.S. ratings will never be, and you're lamenting the fact that, but it's an American game. That's how we think. It's our game. Like, it's got to be. If we're not watching it, then the product's not good. It's like, no.
Well, no, I'm not saying
we can point to.
Yeah, I wasn't saying necessarily if we're not watching it, the product's not good, but there should be some care about the domestic market. And the last thing I'll say before I let you go is just that I think it's with the TV deals, and this is something my brother, he's a finance guy, and we argued about it. And what he told me was, it's almost as much as we like if it's Bruce Hope Network versus Q Network, I'm willing to pay so that Q's network doesn't get it, right? So that's a big part of it, right? Just having that content versus you having that content. So yeah, it's not just, you know, as long as we get a certain threshold, and that threshold is important, I agree, but it's also paying so someone else doesn't have it and I don't.
Well, yeah, because again, to take it back to the threshold thing. So what competition is what you're speaking of, competition in the marketplace, meaning between the platforms that are able to broadcast now, meaning these are just apps, bro. So Amazon's about shipping and delivering stuff, and all of a sudden they jump into the game and be like, oh, let's start to get some in, because we have, you know, our you know, Amazon app now where people can view movies and get music and all that stuff. And they became a player getting the TV shows, and it's a gradual process where eventually, even like Netflix that just broadcast the boxing match, you go from, there's an evolution for all these platforms, and they understand they're projecting, you know, future revenue down the line, understanding that, to somebody's point in the chat right now, that says, oh, NBC knew how to market. Well, NBC was the only player. So their marketing was the only marketing. And then, so when you have an ESPN that comes behind an NBC for decades, or for a decade, where viewership was at its height because of that super team element or superstar element rather of the Bulls, and that domination, that not super team, but that dynasty element, then what happens is, and ESPN coming in, we got used to the product of NBC and how professional it was delivered, and Marv Albert's voice, and it became comfortable for us. You know what I mean? It became the way that basketball was delivered and analyzed. And when that change is never good in the sense of how players or what fans have normalized, rather. You know what I mean? So when that happens, it's like, oh man, this is different. I don't like it. And we have all the reason in the world not to like the product that ESPN had put together. So I'm not justifying their product, but I'm saying that it stands to reason why we're saying take it back to NBC. I can let her. I'm going to forecast for everybody who's listening, you included, Bruce. You know I love you. I'm going to forecast for everybody what's about to happen with NBC. You're going to be disappointed. If you were an NBC fan of the NBA on NBC years ago, you're going to be disappointed with the product that NBC lays out, because it's not nostalgically, it's just not going to be the same.
Right.
We're hoping for that.
Right.
That
you know,
that it gave us.
Everybody can use that now. I saw that on Fox Sports. I was like, do they own that now? I hope NBC buys it back from them and locks it down, because it's licensed. You know, they're licensing it because they began to license it strategically and very smart, because they knew that they were going to become a player for the NBA back. So they wanted to get people back used to the sound. I want you to hear it again and relate it to where they're smart, bro. Come on, it's all business. And so we understand that the NBA is an entertainment product, and that's what you know. My friend circle, they were quick to remind me a couple years ago when I was lamenting all these points about the NBA and how it's dying, and but they were like, bro, pause. Calm down, take a deep breath. Your precious NBA is not going anywhere. It's an entertainment product, and you're just looking at it as a purist. You know what I mean? To the point made in the chat, and you're wanting the old days back. You want that old thing back, that old feeling. Yes, sir.
But the reality is, it's an entertainment product, bro. So they're always their chief mission, key to Adam Silver's position on the ratings, and to Rick Bucher's point, is that they're producing an entertainment product. They only care about producing an entertainment product. If people are entertained, whether we are talking about it positively or negatively, somebody's being entertained by even us shining a light on the things that are wrong. It's still entertainment. So they know that they produce a product that people will speak about positively or negatively. Helps us to create content for social media. Helps us to also keep the NBA's name out there and viable, and keep them trending, because the direction has completely changed. It's not just newspapers and radio. Sports talk shows these days. Now it's us, bro. It's us driving the independent media space, and us saying things and us talking. These conversations have been happening since the dawn of the NBA. They just didn't happen in the public purview. They happen at the barbershops. They, on such a massive scale. I'm saying, you know what I mean? They happen when we got together with our family members and with our friends. But now, man, we're able to captivate the attention of hundreds of thousands of people, sharing a like perspective that, for better or worse, still helps to promote the NBA's entertainment product.
There you go. Great commentary, opinion stated. Good stuff, man. You got anything else?
No, that's it, brother. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in, man. Like I said, I appreciate the topic and the comment.
No doubt, man.
That link as well for that full interview. I haven't made it through the full interview yet.
Okay.
It's the Rick Bucher interview I'm speaking of, but yeah. He has some profound wisdom to share there. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's not what nobody in the chat is saying anything wrong. You know, everybody's position is their position, and they all link. You know what I mean? So I like to tell people sometimes it sounds like we're on opposing sides. It's like what the problem is when we can all. And it's not about being right or wrong. It's like, bro, that's a good perspective that you're sharing there. And it's actually linked to what I'm saying. So it's like we're saying the same thing, but we're just saying it different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
no doubt.
Yeah. Shout. That's why I wanted to start out by shouting out everybody's feedback in the chat, because I'm like, man, this is some really cool engagement to see, because we're all stating what the issues are and the reasons for the issues, or the symptom of what has happened because of A, B, C, or D. You can put these positions that everybody's brought up in varying orders, and it won't change the reality. They're all on point. You know what I mean? They're all on point, bro. So yeah, I just want to say, man, shout out to y'all. Keep doing your thing, bro.
I appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much for the call, man.
Absolutely.
So again, I just wanted to share that video clip. Shout out once again to the Format Podcast here on YouTube, man. Shout out to Bruce. I appreciate the engagement, brother, in the space that they create. You know, once again, that he's fostered to give sports perspective and just a whole space. You know, for those of us who just kind of like to talk about sports and the different things that we're seeing, and so I wanted to share that. As I said, it was from a recording from a live show that he produced yesterday. As I was just kind of doing some things around the house, and I grabbed my phone and I was like, oh man, Bruce is live, so let me, you know what I mean, like let me listen to the Format Podcast and see what he's on today. And he was talking about this ratings decline, and I just chimed in with my opinion, you know what I mean, like, and that's I want to share with you also, that you would hear it, and then I wouldn't necessarily have to regurgitate, you know what I mean, my points there or my opinions, you know what I mean, by and large. But I also found an article today, 3 hours prior to beginning this episode or producing this episode, where Adam Silver actually talks about himself, this very thing. So I want to get into this article really quickly. Again, found on fadeawayworld.net. This article is entitled "Adam Silver Shares His Opinion on Why NBA Ratings Are Down." Adam Silver discusses declining NBA ratings, plans for streaming, and balancing tradition with innovation in the league's evolving strategy. The article itself was penned by Vishwesha Kumar, and I probably butchered that first name. But shout out to V. Kumar, who author of this article. In this article, I wanted to read this article after playing the soundbite, because I did not have a conversation with Adam Silver prior to having that conversation. I haven't listened to any, you know what I mean, like I hadn't listened to any discourse from Adam Silver and those officials that are connected with the league. I did not have permission to quote him in any way, so I didn't want to, even though I was presupposing as a business person myself what I perceive to be a thing, I say, well, Adam Silver and this guy's so it's almost like I kind of falsely accused them of owning this position that I had given, until I read this article and I was like, this is exactly what I said. It's exactly as I perceived it as a business person, because it's just easy to see outside perspective looking in that, like, this, if you run a business, you understand what I mean. You don't understand, but this will bring it full circle so that it makes sense to you guys. Let's dig into the article. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver recently addressed the declining television ratings for the league, acknowledging the issue while emphasizing that it does not reflect the lack of interest in basketball. Speaking with media outlets ahead of the NBA Cup Championship, Silver provided insights into the reasons behind the ratings drop and outlined the league's approach to addressing the issue. If you look at the other data points in terms of our business, for example, we've just come off of the last 2 years of the highest attendance in the history of this league. We're at this point where our social media audience is the highest of any league and continuing to grow exponentially. So it's not a lack of interest in this game. He pointed out two things. One was I spoke about in that clip, in that episode of the Format Podcast with Bruce, about how their primary source of revenue has always been butts in seats. They have to fill those huge stadiums, 20, 30,000 people, or however many most of these places fill, in the local markets where these teams are facing off almost every night in the association. So that's their primary goal, is to get butts in seats. So I mean, people purchase those tickets so they can buy concessions. You know what I mean? Hopefully, if they haven't bought paraphernalia before they got there, they'll do so in the space. You know what I mean? Et cetera, et cetera. So that's the driving force for the business. The media element and aspect of it being in broadcast is just another source of revenue for advertising dollars to be able to run commercials during, sell products for other people and themselves, to promote, other games that are coming up, et cetera, to help their network and marketing partners make money, right? It's an age-old game. You understand marketing, business, and marketing, right? So, but he also said, we're at the point where our social media audience is the highest that it's of any league. So I don't know if these points are true that he's making here. These statements that he's making is true. I'm not here to say that Adam Silver is telling the truth or he's delusional or not delusional. I'm merely pointing out the fact that he's speaking of two totally different things here. Right now, he's talking about butts and seats, and he's also talking about our social media driven audience, right? Being at the highest that it's ever been. So it's not that people aren't interested in the game. People love basketball. So two things can be true. You can have butts in seats and have the other people that don't attend the game, meaning the other source of eyeballs on the game and outside revenue, kind of push back. There are just some who are just enthusiasts about going out to actually sit present in an arena. For me, for instance, I prefer watching the NFL product. I prefer watching the NFL product on TV than I ever will actually go into a game. The NFL game, like watching a game in person, to me is boring. I'd rather watch it on TV. I don't know. Maybe it's just a part of my programming. But basketball, because I played and I play avidly, I enjoy watching a basketball. It's just different for me. So that was just to that point. But back to the article. We're almost at the inflection point where people are watching more programming on streaming than they are in traditional television. And it's a reason why for our new television deals, which we'll enter into next year, every game is going to be available on a streaming service. Two things being brought up here. He's talking about linear television, you know what I mean? Like where the traditional way that people watch TV, maybe they're just tired of it, is his presumption. Maybe they're just tired of watching it the traditional way. So but the data shows that more people, not just NBA fans, more people are taking in their entertainment from streaming services. So we think that it's time for us to take this thing into a shift of our own onto like these streaming services. The entertainment points are so fragmented these days, y'all. I promise you, man. There was once upon a time where there was just linear television. You just had to buy a TV set, plug the thing up. You were paying for electricity, put an antenna on a thing on top of your house, you were cool. And then in came cable television. You know what I mean? Where now you got to have this box and this transmission point on top of your roof that goes beyond just an antenna to get local television stations. Now you have more options to view streaming into your home through that data point, right? And then from there came the birth of streaming and all these things. Now it's like they smashed the cable box up, and from all these fragments, instead of now just having all the channels, HBO Max, Showtime, whatever, fragmented out. So now I have to pay for a separate subscription to have all of those. Or from the extra fragmented shards of little cable box that we broke up. Now we got our Netflixes, we have our YouTube TVs, we have our Amazon Primes, we have Hulu, we have all these others that we're now paying subscriptions for. So we're paying way more money today than we ever paid for linear cable or for linear TV, certainly, but also for cable television as it came in. So he's just saying, hey, man, this is the future. This is what people are doing, what they're willing to do. So we're going to give them and put an emphasis on giving them what they want, but on the streaming platforms. And as we move to streaming service, putting aside how the actual game is played on the floor, it's going to allow us from a production standpoint to do all kinds of things that you can't do through traditional television. All kinds of new functionality, all kinds of new options and screens that are available. The vast majority of people consume us through media, not in person. So we have to pay a lot of attention. You see, that focus is moving towards, the future of the product that we'll be able to offer through these streaming services. Where if they get the NBA package, they can click on this and they can see what's being said in the locker room. And they can get a view of this and a view of that, and they can get this and that. And they're projecting what they perceive through this medium of streaming will be of benefit to the consumer. When all the consumer really wants right now, which speaks to the ratings decline, is a good product to view. We don't care about the being able to do all this. We just want to see a good game. And the games haven't been very good. Silver highlighted that while TV ratings have declined, Viewership for games on ESPN, ABC, and TNT is down 19% compared to last year. The league is thriving in other metrics. He pointed to record high attendance over the past 2 seasons of the NBA's unmatched presence on social media as evidence of sustained and growing fan engagement. Silver attributed much of the ratings decline to broader trends in media consumption, noting that traditional cable television viewership noting rather that traditional cable television viewership has decreased significantly across all demographics. Other sports, including men's and women's college basketball and the NHL, have experienced even steeper drops in ratings. So again, it's not the NBA, it's not us by ourselves. Everybody's experiencing this drop and this decline in TV ratings, and it's not true. Now, that for sure I know is not true because I've looked at some data and I've read some articles, etc., leading up to now that don't suggest that what Adam is saying and suggesting here is true. You know what I mean? You have college basketball games that have come in with higher ratings than finals matchups and stuff like that, NBA finals matchups. So that's not true. We know that the NFL ratings and college football ratings, college football is the most heavily consumed sport in the country. It has been that way forever. That's just the way it is. Baseball still gets crazy amounts of views with 162 games a season. So it's insane to presuppose that. But anyway, that's what he says. It is what it is. This reality is shaping the NBA's future with new TV deals starting next year that will make every game available on streaming platforms like Amazon Prime alongside traditional broadcasters like ESPN, ABC, and NBC. Silver expressed optimism that streaming's interactivity and advanced production options could enhance how fans experience the game. Despite the shift in media platforms, Silver acknowledged the need to ensure the quality of the game remains compelling for fans. He addressed growing concerns about the style of play, particularly the increasing reliance on three-point shooting. Fix it. Bro, that shit is driving me crazy. It drives me crazy to sit and watch a game where only one element of the game is focused on so much that it just turns you off to actually just viewing the game. Just that watch teams just come down and shoot, 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 shoot. I constantly have to listen to idiocy being spewed from the mouths of so many independent media space and also the mainstream media space that the players are more skilled today than they were back in the day. Like, I can't tell. Show me the skill. I don't see it. Where is it? Where is the skill displayed? Skill displayed by playing multiple elements of a game, not just focusing on one element of the game. Are they more skilled shooters today? That's arguable. They shoot more threes, but they're still making the same percentage as those when they shot fewer. So that doesn't speak to a higher skill level, but it does contribute to a terrible to view product. If I pulled up on a basketball court in your neighborhood, and I say, oh, let me grab my ball out the trunk and let me lace my shoes up and let me get out here, man. These brothers like they wrecking out here. I'm about to get out here and get me some work in too. And I stand there and I just watch a style of play that is not conducive for how I want to play the game. I'm gonna jump back in my car and leave. If they're just shooting threes, I'm like, yo, so all five players on this, we're not setting picks for each other. We're not, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to get into any of these elements of the actual basketball game. All we're just going to do every single time is just come down. We're going to shoot threes. They're going to shoot threes. We're going to shoot threes. We're just going to hope to make more threes than them. That's crazy. I'm going to be as crazy as the NBA announcing, hey, we got the solution. Dunks will now be worth 4 points. And so every single time down the floor now we have attempts at lobs and people just trying to dunk on each other. Like, I mean, it will be entertaining to a degree. I like seeing people get dunked on, right? I'm from that generation. I dunked on a many of people in my day. I'm 6'6" tall, bro. I used to jump out the gym. I'm 47 now. I don't jump as high as I used to, but bro, I put that thing on many people's heads in the day back in my day. So I get it. I understand that will be like, oh man, that's so much more attractive. But if it just, that was just every game we just tuned in, it was just people trying to dunk on each other, missing. But the analytics suggest that 4 points is more than 3 or 2. So it's like, this is just dunks. They never did anything else. We hate the product. We grow to hate it. It's much like we're growing to hate this 3-point centered specific foolery that they're trying to pass off as basketball these days. Sucks. While some have suggested moving the 3-point line further back to mitigate the trend, Silver dismissed this as a simplistic solution, instead emphasizing the league's focus on maintaining a balance between analytics-driven strategies and the joy and creativity of the game. Now get back to the joy and creativity of the game, please. I like to see folks scoring in the mid-range. Instead of shooting so many threes, I'm watching people miss opportunities to pump fake from behind the three. They're just sidestepping to shoot a three. Like, bro, the pump fake gives you the leverage to take a dribble or two and get just a wide open and a much more in rhythm mid-range jump shot. Like that. So like a lost art in this supposedly more skilled NBA. It's weird. Weird, bro. Silver's highlighted the NBA's plans for international growth, including exploring the possibility of a Europe-based league in partnership with FIBA. While no concrete decisions have been made, Silver sees an opportunity to elevate basketball's profile and commercial potential in Europe. Again, man, Silver, I would never cite this that Silver's not a good business person. He doesn't have the foresight to want to take a business from point A to point C. I understand it. I understand it. Trust me, I understand. I get into or have people tell me all the time when I bring up certain points or have in previous episodes that I don't talk to people like you because you just don't understand the business point of it. I'm like, what business have you ever run? And don't suggest that you know me or understand what I'm thinking or what I understand or what I perceive. And I would never do that to any of you. And so I would never even do that to Adam Silver because clearly he's qualified to do what he's doing. He's doing this on. They ain't ousted the guy yet. He's done some things that have helped the NBA, but he's just missing, you know what I mean? Like the focus on the present and the here and now and just only projecting for the future. That's what I perceive as I'm watching the moves that he's making. And even as I read this article, he's focused on moving forward and not fixing now. And you got to fix now because fixing now is going to help the vehicle to move forward into that direction where you want to take it. If the product's not good now, we don't care to come into your new space. The product in the old space wasn't good. Addressing the NBA Cup, Silver defended the decision to hold its Final Four in Las Vegas, emphasizing the tradition building and fan engagement opportunities such as location provides. However, he acknowledged mixed opinions among teams, with some advocating for hosting the championship games in home markets to leverage local enthusiasm. That's a whole other subject to talk about here. You know what I mean? But I won't get into that because the NBA Cup is still so fresh and so brand new. They're just kind of kicking the tires on trying to figure out, you know what I mean, the best thing to do with it. But I don't think you have to break so far away from tradition to try to create a new tradition. The championship game should be held as like do a coin flip or something or another, man, between the two teams that make it, and you hold it in one of those home markets because it just makes sense. Their fans deserve to be present for the games. Like, come on, bro, what are we doing here? It's weird. Silver's comprehensive approach from adapting to streaming trends to preserving the game's excitement and expanding globally underscores his commitment to ensuring the NBA remains a leader in sports entertainment. While challenges remain, his vision reflects an optimistic outlook for the league's future. And so, man, that's that article once again from fadeawayworld.net. I just wanted to get into that to, again, contrast and parallel, my statements made on the Format podcast yesterday, and then that article that was published today by fadeawayworld.net, and just to show how relative they are. Adam Silver is killing the NBA. And maybe he's not doing so intentionally, but the reality is the reality. I can only hope that the product that we love so much, being the game of basketball, gets the attention that it deserves so that they can fix that part of it, you know what I mean? And then allow the business side of it or the game to emerge into the business side of it that he's projecting for the future. The reality is the product sucks. It's not the same as it used to be. It's not the same as we would desire, or it's not the product that we would desire for it to be even today without looking back. But just to say, hey, man, today, the thing's not that good. And so the fans are speaking, you know what I mean? The fans are speaking loudly and speaking boldly about it. The question is Adam Silver listening? And does Adam Silver care? So that's the basis of this episode. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into the channel once again. My name is Cosmic. Like the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel as well. You know what I mean? Look forward to taking this journey with you guys beyond. I will catch you in the next episode. Until then, please take care of yourselves. Blessings.